just how much money you're talking about or what's the prize, but I think we're more complicated than that, actually. And I think all that we know from the field of psychology, particularly the psychoanalytic literature, suggests we're much more complicated than that. And I think these things sound good. It'd be nice if we could live that way, if we had that kind of a society. But I don't think.
Just like you said, the good that I would try to not do.
Sir, I have a question for, do I have your name right, sir? Dr. Walmsley? You said very early in your argument that you thought the world today needed more tolerance than truth. Do I have that right? Is that correct?
No, I didn't say that. No. More tolerance than truth?
Or
no,
more tolerance?
No, the only thing I would stand by is that we live in a world that needs a good deal more tolerance than I see being expressed in the world.
Okay.
And, basically the behaviors associated under this thing called tolerance are more sorely needed today than ever before. And so for us to carry on a conversation where it's possible to say, well, which is more important, this or that, in a world that there can't be anything more important than tolerance, whether it's truth or anything else. To me, that's a discussion that I'm just not interested in having with anybody, because, I mean, we really need a big bucket full of tolerance today if we're to survive. Hold on. Is that what you're asking?
Well, if that's not what you said, then my question is irrelevant. So,
Dr. Emmrich, would you like to respond?
No.
You sure there isn't some other questions?
I guess I wanted to know what you thought of.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
This is a question for Mr. Walmsley. If I'm correct, it's logical that tolerance implies that you don't believe that someone holds a view that you don't believe in, yet you still tolerate it. That's how tolerance works. If that's true, upon what do you base your moral principles which allow you to judge which views you disagree with yet tolerate?
Well, can you repeat the question? It's hard to hear over here.
Tolerance, I believe, implies that somebody holds a viewpoint that you don't agree with, yet you still tolerate them. If that's true, Mr. Walmsley, upon what do you base your moral principles that allow you to judge what you tolerate and what you disagree with, yet you still tolerate, or what you believe is true?
Oh, well, I would remind you that the club's called Socratic. And we remember Socrates because of supposedly this person epitomized the dialogue, give and take, back and forth. He was the wisest of all men because he knew that he knew not. He knew not. What does that mean? His whole life was a life of discovery through dialogue. Now, if there is a moral base for anything that you can look at and say, oh, that's reasonably true, or that is truth, or that's, at least at my term, that's very solid. Or, yet another term I find even more helpful, used by you scientists, is it robust? Does it give us results that lead to other kinds of results? Then it's dialogue. Dialogue is a wonderful base for moral behavior. And you mentioned Richard Rorty, who is recently retired from teaching, but is the kind of quintessential American pragmatist in modern times, and a fine philosopher. And his position is, there is no privileged position or no privileged place anywhere in the cosmos. If you understand that, if you understand what he's talking about, you understand Einstein. That's exactly what Einstein is saying. All points of the compass are relative to every other point, and every point in the cosmos is relative to all other points. What do we have in common? What we have in common is the possibility of creative interaction of all of those points, which is going on whether we like it or not. It's a matter of whether we want to be participants in the dialogue. And out of the dialogue comes increasingly more and more insight, more and more robustness of results. And of course, that's what science is all about. And I think religion needs to learn that. Dialogue's the answer, the moral base.
Dr. Emmrich, would you like to respond?
So maybe briefly just to point out, Socrates still knew that he did not know. And secondly, the things that you argue for, dialogue, yes, by all means. I love dialogue. I love, a fair exchange of opinions and then weighing each opinion on its own merits in order to find something that we can agree on. Because I do believe that to have dialogue is not merely for the purpose of agreeing to disagree, but to find truth, to find what helps us to live meaningful lives. And so I'm still waiting for you to answer the question here. You haven't answered the question.
You wouldn't be the first time.
Lydia in the back.
This is Beth Mark. I heard you say a lot of things that I agree with. There's one thing that seems to contradict something that you said, so I was going to ask for clarification on that. I heard you say that the new definition of tolerance is to agree with the position and consider the position to be just as valid as your own, and that was bad. But the question in my mind about that statement is, if it's equally possible that either of you are right, how is that person's view not just as valid as your own, even if it's different?
Well, my colleague Tom here has referred to the principle of science or scientific research at several junctions in his talk. The law of non-contradiction would do this for us. Two statements that contradict each other cannot be true at the same time. One of them must be true or both of them must be wrong, but they can't be true both at the same time because in their very nature they contradict themselves. And yes, there is a difference between saying you are entitled to your own opinion and you are entitled to voice it in the public marketplace, to make it known so that people hear about it and learn about it. It's quite a different thing to say that the content of my beliefs or the content of anyone's beliefs are equal under all circumstances.
Doesn't it fully answer
Excuse
the
me.
question? Could I clarify?
Yes, sure.
It seems to be under the premise of even things that are improvable. Do you feel like that statement holds true for arguments that are improvable?
Arguments that are improvable, can you tell me what you mean by that?
If you can't say, this paper will dry, that's provable, like, we'll have a proven result.
Oh,
If you
are not
say,
provable, is that what you said?
It does not exist. You can't prove that yet.
Yeah, I understand your concern. Here I have to say that every argument that I advance, every argument that you advance, every argument that Tom advances is in its final reality an argument based on a presupposition. And presuppositions are things that we cede ultimacy. That is, things that we believe to be the structuring thought of the way that we think about reality, the world in which we live, and so forth. They cannot be proven beyond the shadow of a doubt. None of them can. Like I said, to be fair and to be honest, what I said, I cannot prove to you beyond the shadow of a doubt, and neither what Tom said.
Dr. Walmsley?
I would, well, no, it's just my hearing aids are acting up. You don't hear what I hear. Well, I wouldn't try to prove anything beyond the shadow of a doubt. I would never take that position. In fact, I happen to think that doubt is is maybe the most fascinating act of faith that any of us can make. And we don't often look at doubt as an act of faith, but I think it is. Leaving open that questioning, searching, that trust that maybe if we keep working at this dialogue, this experiment or whatever, we'll arrive at more and more enlightenment, but ever reaching ultimate truth, whatever in the world that is, and prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt. I can't imagine that world. There'd be no more puzzles. And I get up every morning. It's actually fascinating. I really wait to get to the next Sudoku puzzle. I mean, when people ask me, what do you teach in philosophy? I say, I teach one thing, the love of puzzles. And once again, my comment on the